to not, I guess, not be honest, not be truthful.
Yep.
How do you get around that? Like, let's say, are you experienced out of the player, you can call it out, or
Yep.
or do you know who are the, and I'm assuming it's in areas, right? You've got different parts of the US. If you cover the Americas, people are going to be more honest
in certain parts.
Sugarcoat their answers wherever they're, depending on where they're from.
True. There's cultural, and there's comfortability, and there's who you've worked for, who you've worked with. I guess the biggest thing is, if people say they need help, then we don't punish them for it, and that only takes time, and you have to expose that, which is great. I'm going to miss my number for this quarter and next quarter. Okay, great. You told me today that you're going to miss your number for the next 4 months or 5 months, whatever it is. That's what you see today. Okay, that's great. I'm not thrilled about that, but I'm happy that you're exposing a problem. Let's go figure it out. So one of the big things that we talk about internally here is, you don't get fired for missing a number. You don't. You get fired, if you lie. Now, there's a huge difference between lying and getting something wrong. Lying is knowing that you're willfully lying to us. Getting something wrong in today's world, and on the sales side, of course, a customer could tell you something, and then that something could change the next day. That doesn't mean you lied. That means you just had the information that you had today. But if you're knowing lying to me, that's like truthfully, the kiss of death. We work really hard about figuring out what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and where certain things are. Working with customer ABC, this is what they've told us, this is what we're working on, this is what we think is happening, this is our plan. And we have all, just like every customer, we have our own CRM score, we have all these different tools we use. That's great. No one gets punished for getting it wrong, because that's just the way it is. You only get punished for lying or saying, I'm fine, things are perfect, leave me alone, I got it on my own. If you're going to lose alone, then you're not in a good spot. You want to lose with a team.
It's when I managed a team, I was always, maybe I had high expectations, but I would always encourage my team to come to me. If you have a challenge, come to me with the challenge, but don't stop there. Come to me with a solution.
Yep.
Like a possible solution or a few ideas. Don't just say, oh, here. And then it's like, okay, well, what do you want me to do with this? How do you feel about that? Is that something you coach or you?
What you just said is so spot on. And we actually were at a leadership meeting last month, and one of the guys moderating, your actions were very similar to what he just did. He goes, what you see people do is, like, you have your dog that goes out on the back deck, that goes and finds a bird, and it brings the bird to you and throws the bird down, like, here it is, great. But that doesn't solve any problems for you. So what my encouragement was, come with some kind of solution. You may not have a perfect solution. You might not have the entire answer, but don't just say, our marketing on this product stinks. Okay, that's not helpful. That doesn't, whether you're right or wrong, that's not really, helping me at all. Okay, the marketing is missing the target because we should be talking about X and we're talking about Y. Okay, let's have a discussion around that. I think the biggest thing, and it is hard, but I say this a lot, and this is strictly on the sales side. Salespeople get paid a lot of money. If you sell well, you make an incredible amount of money. So there's an incredible expectation on my part that you're going to own a lot of what's going on.
Oof, you just said the magic word. We need to come up with like a thing, like a bell to ring, or maybe take a shot. Maybe that's not appropriate. Whatever.
That's okay. Yep.
You say a buzzword, ownership, when you own it, right? So you just said it. So like the finger pointing at marketing.
Yep.
Very common. I actually just had a conversation with someone who runs talent acquisition, and they're like, how would we were talking about aptitude tests, and I'm like, I have a simple way to figure that out. Like, ask them a question or why they failed at something. If the first thing that person does is point a finger, like it's over. It's over. Like, well, Mark, my manager, that's the biggest one. Well, my manager never taught me. Well, we were never trained. Well, it's a big Jocko one.
Yep.
how big are you on ownership? Like,
I think that the salesperson in the job should own almost everything, and it dictates back to compensation, because you get paid the most when a deal comes in. So anything that's customer related, you should have a voice in. It doesn't mean you get to set direction and strategy and everything, but you should have an opinion, because you're talking to these customers and you get paid the most. So what you just said resonates so much, because people are like, oh, I don't have an answer to that. Okay, we can help you get an answer, but what's your thought on that? Like, how would you
go try and find it?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
What if you? I think I love, like, one of my mentors. He would ask me. He's like, every time I would come to him. This is when I was like super early in my career. I would come to him, and he would always ask me, "Okay, well, walk me through what you've done."
Yep.
I'd be looking at him like, "Shit, I haven't done anything so far." Like, you.
Yep.
When you think about it, you're like, okay, I could have hunted down this person. I could have found out who the right person was. Could have followed up with this person. Oh, the process, or the operations team didn't place the order,
Yep.
right? Okay. Did you follow up with that? Did you take ownership of that piece? Hey, just want to make sure you saw this order, and this FYI needs to be placed before midnight. Are we good? Are you?
Just no, I just sat there and got mad when it didn't come in, is what, for some people, I put this slide up at one of our new hires, and I got a little bit of reaction, which is like, I put up different salaries for different people, and I put up like a NASA engineer, and I put up a high school principal, and I put up a rocket scientist, and they all make less on face value in many situations than a really, really good salesperson. And I'm like, guys, we make enough money that if we ask you to either figure the problem out or be involved in the problem, or figure out something as simple as putting something in our CRM, we're not asking you too much when you make more money than a high school principal or a superintendent of schools who gives their lives to try and shape people's, whether you agree with the superintendent or not, they're working their butts off, on a daily basis. So I'm big on ownership, and I'm big on ownership in a different way too, which can rub some people the wrong way. And I'll give some credit. I learned this at Pure Storage. I didn't work an extremely long time there, but when I went through their new hire training, they put something that I had never seen a company do. I have no idea whether they still do this, but they said, if you don't like it here, tell us, because we want to figure it out. And I fell in love with that, and I put that on my slides, and I take it to a deeper level, which is where people struggle. And I say, guys, if you don't like it, I want to know for two reasons. One, if we can fix it, like maybe there's something we're doing wrong, maybe there's something you see other companies that's better, we want to learn, or maybe it just isn't the place for you. And that's okay. I'm not suggesting we're going to fire you, but if it's not a good company for you, because everyone's worked in a place that you just didn't fit in with, it's okay. We'll find a way to make it work out. It might be separating, but we'll find a way. But I don't want you sitting here for a year saying we stink, or this place isn't good, or I'm frustrated, and not able to give at least some feedback.
You hit it on something. You hit on a very good point there. You said it's okay. I don't think that gets said often enough. Like, I don't, even in relationships, right? You could disagree, and that's okay. You could have different opinions. We're human beings, and we're in the freest country in the world. It's okay. And let's move on from that, or let's find I think that's another, it's another value that I really appreciated. There was a time, when I first started in sales, where it really wasn't going well for me.
Yep.
And I had my challenges, and I learned a lot. But I was sat down and I had that talk. They're like, hey, if this isn't right for you, and it may not be, sales might not be the right thing for you. You may have fallen into sales. You may have had a great, hit some luck somewhere, and and you may have just been skating by. But then, okay, like, maybe it's not for you. Let's find what is good for you. So the right leader might help encourage, or help help guide you to find the right thing. Okay, well, you like working with people, you just don't like the pressure of sales. Okay, well, there's the channel, right? There's a few other
options. Yeah.
Right, there you go. There's other areas where you still be part of the business. I think I think awful. What are your thoughts on this? I feel like I see this often, where there's a balance between, like, you can't let someone go because it's tough to get anything through HR. But you really have you have no justification on letting them go. So a lot of leaders just kind of leave them there.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
So this is a tough one because you can't leave them there. Well, I'll give two different answers. One is there's always going to be someone who's the worst on your team. There has to be. It's just natural.
Mathematically, it's like, right.
Life. You can't get around it. The question is, are they okay or are they bad at the job? So if you have 5 people on a team and you've got 2 superstars and 3 pretty good employees, that's okay. You can continue to try and make them better, and that's okay. But if you get 5 people on a team and one of them is just gosh darn awful, really bad at the job, what I see is 2 things. One is what you said, you just leave them there. Hey, I don't want to. I can't figure. There's too much effort to get them out of the business. But my leaders end up spending more time with them than anyone else because they need more effort. And at the end, if they're really not the right person, which is always questionable, if they're really not, they improve, but the improvement is not enough to get to where you need them to be. It's the reverse of the 80-20 rule. You spend 80% of your time with the 20% of the business that isn't doing well, and you're not spending time with the others. So the overall long-winded answer for me is I'm a big person in trying to figure out, can the person be successful? And are they into it? Are they into being successful? And do they have a skill set? And I expect leaders to be able to figure that out. But if they can be better, I want to give them as long as, I don't care whether it's 12 months, 24 months, if they're getting better and making improvements all day long.
You can see the increments that they're improving.
Something. But if they're not the right person, they're not into it, they're not doing the job really, they're just not, then you can't leave them there forever, because what used to stick out at me when in the roles that I was in was that it would aggravate me. This person's not really good at the job. I'm really good at the job. I'm working my butt off. Why are they here every day? So I think your better performers over time question what's going on. And sales is such an easy sport from that perspective, in the sense of it's a numbers driven, new customer, new logo, whatever the metric is, there's a metric. When I worked in IT, there was no metric. The metric was, go do some projects, go less downtime, things like that. But they were much more team based than they were individual one person.
They've got leading indicators, lagging indicators.
Exactly.
And you were talking about math. I mean, from a mathematical standpoint, you also, if your leaders are spending that much time with the lowest performer, okay, they may improve this much, but if they spent that time with the highest performing, how much would they improve?
Exactly.
Right. I sometimes find myself in that scenario where, for the most part, I'll be fine. I'm like, look, the way I see it, I'm like, be there if I need you. If I need you, I really need you.
Yep.
Right. And I've had my moments where I'm like, okay, you weren't there. I really needed you. But what I do,
yeah.
Come on, be available.
Well,
I get
it is truly the balancing act in today's world, where I don't care whether it's a big company or a small company and the different geographies in the world, having someone leave a business is usually not something you do overnight. I mean, you can go back 20 years ago where, people unfortunately will get fired for basically nothing. And in today's world, it's the other option, which is you have to get it right. But it's the idea of how much do you have for, sorry, you can hear the dog, I apologize. It's, if you leave someone in the business that's not successful, that's not helpful. And if the position's open, it's not successful either, because it's better if you can mentor them and get them operational, versus all the time you spend on someone not doing well and then taking them out of the business and then bringing someone new in. It's just a ton of work.
Right. It's that you have to, then you have the ramp period, right? You have to train them, get them caught up to speed. That costs money, a lot of money from the entire business.